Good evening, YouTube. Metalhead Weatherman here. I hope you guys are doing well. Hopefully, you guys are safe. Unfortunately, this ice storm has taken a deadly toll here. We have unfortunately had two fatalities in Texas over towards the Dallas area, as it was very little ice, maybe even less than a tenth of an inch, that ended up causing a big pileup, and unfortunately, two people have passed away. And unfortunately, with the way things are right now, I see potential in this to rise. So a lot of road officials have already been discouraging travel. I'm definitely behind that. I would definitely prefer that you guys would not be out here. There's no real reason for you to be out here at this point. There's no preparation that you can make at this point now. You just have to just sit tight and wait this out. That's the best thing you can do. Of course, I'll be here. There's plenty of other weather YouTubers out there as well that'll be here as well covering this system. There are plenty out there right now, probably actively even live stream. So we'll get you through it. Just sit tight first. That's all we ask. But we can still expect another round of freezing rain, sleet, and maybe even the potential of a thunder sleet or a thunder ice storm occurring over not only towards Texas, but also towards Arkansas, Missouri. Parts of Kentucky are in this too now. Let's not forget about you guys. And also, of course, towards Tennessee. So we're going to go ahead and take a look at things as they will unfold. So let's take a look now at the temperatures here and get an idea of what's ahead here. See if there might be any point where we could start to get a little bit of help from Mother Nature here to maybe melt this ice a little bit faster. So right now we're still in those below freezing, temperature area right here. This is our battle zone. I think the worst areas right now will be right across this region right here. I'm thinking there's still a lot of potential for some freezing rain and sleet throughout the overnight tonight in this region. The activity here is going to die down, but then pick up late into the overnight and early morning hours around Texas. And then throughout tomorrow afternoon, we could see increased potential. Increased potential for maybe even some thunder sleet again, as we're close to that low pressure center and that temperature battle zone. We'll move this forward here, and those temperatures, of course, dig in for the night, of course. And then we start to see a little bit of warming towards the surface. We're finally starting to see a little bit of an end in sight here, and this is towards Wednesday evening. Temperatures do come back, of course, from the overnight, but by Thursday, look what starts to happen here. We're starting to get above freezing in these points. Finally starting to get some warm air advecting towards the surface here and starting to meet up with that warm air that's kind of trapped at the low levels of the atmosphere. So some of this freezing precipitation that we've been getting will be starting to change over more so towards maybe just regular old rain, which is great news. And this could help melt some of that ice faster too. Also, the low pressure that's going to be associated with this system will be starting to move off to the east a bit. So that's going to help as well. And by the time we get to Friday, even though we start to get some refreezing, it's not going to be anywhere near as severe as what we've been seeing. And by Friday, we should be warmed up well enough to where we melt a lot of that ice. So let's go ahead and now take a look at what our reflectivity will look like here. And right now, things, of course, still aren't great, but there does look like there seems to be an end in sight here towards the end of this here. Here's a lot of what's going on right now as we're looking about a couple hours ahead from now. I would say that, of course, Memphis, we're watching you extremely close. Nashville, you're in this action as well. And we can't rule out parts of Kentucky. There is a little bit of potential of snow just to the north of this 540 line here, towards maybe southern Illinois, but the amounts will be rather unimpressive. And then, of course, here we go with that moisture plume, and we're getting back to seeing more action over towards Texas. But the setup is starting to, you even see it now, the setup is starting to change over just a little bit, starting to get more and more warm air advecting in. And as a result, we're starting to see just a little bit of rain sneaking in here and there. You're going to be in a real battle zone tomorrow. I think later in the day, that cold air is going to start to take back over as we get into the latter half of the day, particularly. And this one, I think we'll see some of the heaviest sleet and ice accumulations on Wednesday. And it'll be very widespread and far-reaching. And then, of course, we have this setup here with this high pressure here that starts to not only take away the moisture, but also having a little bit of a warm air advect here. Here's our low pressure center coming out of the Gulf, which is also going to bring additional warm air in, and it's basically going to kind of level things out a bit. We're going to eventually turn over to rain, and by the time we get towards early Friday morning, I would say, I think the worst of our ice threat will be over. We'll just have widespread rain for the southeast here. So there is an end in sight. We just got to hang in there for another 24 to 36 hours. I know it's been rough. Power outages have been on the rise. There have been a lot of accidents. So the best thing that we can tell you, I know you don't want to, the best thing you can do is sit tight. There's no point in going out there and putting yourself at high risk, especially with more ice to come, and you've already seen what the ice that you have now is doing. So that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at what's possible over the next couple of days, and then we'll go from there. With us now being in range of the short range models, we're going to have a little bit more to look at here. So we're going to, of course, start out with the Euro as per usual. Some pretty high totals here still possible. The global models, of course, are going to have more aggressive totals in the short range, although I do think these are a little bit overdone. Still can't rule these out because I've been seeing this for the last few days, which is very concerning still. Some places could see up to 3/4 of an inch of ice. I don't quite expect it, but another 1/4 inch of ice I can't rule it out at this point with the way things have been, especially with us getting thunder sleet and thunder ice storms, which is pretty wild. The Canadian's going to show a slightly more aggressive picture, especially towards southern Arkansas. I don't know if I buy that necessarily, where we're getting above an inch of ice. I don't see that. But again, can't rule it out at this point, given how this storm has performed so far. So let's not either way, don't let your guard down. We just got to at least get through Thursday. Then as we go to the GFS, a little bit less aggressive, a little more reasonable. I would say about 1/2 inch of ice most could be possible, especially towards southern Arkansas. We're also noticing a trend where we're starting to see areas like Mississippi starting to get into the northern Mississippi starting to get in the action here. Do I think you'll get a 1/2 inch of ice? Not so much, but you could get a 1/4 inch possibly. Again, the main point of interest and the greatest area of concern is going to be this little corridor here between Interstate 35 and Interstate 40. These two interstates are going to be the areas that will end up seeing the greatest impacts, I think. They've been seeing the greatest impacts, and I don't see any reason as to why that wouldn't continue with the way things are set up right now. Switch this over to the HRRR, and we're a little bit more aggressive here. That's not good news. I'm seeing up to potential up to about 3/4 inches of ice, which is definitely not good, especially along this region, which has already been hard hit. Either way, we're already dealing with what I would consider to be a crippling ice storm. Once you get above a 1/4 inch of ice, it becomes very problematic. Excuse me. But once you get above a 1/2 inch ice, the infrastructure will have a lot of trouble functioning with that much ice. Roads become impassable, power lines and then trees become a problem then. So if we end up seeing these totals, this could be a huge problem. And even see an area over here towards southwestern Texas where we could see up to an inch. Let's hope that's not the case, but that moisture plume is very strong over that point, so it's not like that scenario isn't unreasonable. But the fact that we're seeing that on a short range model is a little bit unnerving for me, not gonna lie. So this is what the NAM is showing us, the traditional NAM. We're seeing lower totals, I'd say up to about maybe 1/2 inch in a lot of areas. Maybe slightly higher totals over here towards southwestern Texas. Even then, about 1/2 inch is the limit. Most areas we could see up to about 2/10 of an inch, close to a 1/4 inch again. We switch it over to the 3 kilometer. We're still seeing that intense pocket right over here towards southwestern Texas. We're seeing another big pocket over here towards central Texas, parts of central Oklahoma here in the action as well. and then of course Arkansas more so towards the southern half of it. Memphis, it looks like you guys will still be in the action here. You could get up to about 2/10 of an additional inch of ice, or an additional 2/10 of an inch of ice. But it looks like some of the heaviest ice accretion may occur tonight, if anything, or it occurred yesterday possibly. We'll see how this performs, because we weren't expecting thunder, sleet, or thunder ice storms, and that often always ends up being a game changer. So we'll see what happens in both of these regions. Then of course we'll look at a British model, and the British model is definitely playing an apocalyptic scenario out towards southern Arkansas and towards southwestern Texas and south central Texas too. Man, I'd say that this is a little bit overdone, but let's hope that doesn't come to fruition. The fact that this is seeing it is still bad enough in its own right. Last thing to do is to look at the blend of models here. I'm going to switch over to that. The blend of models, the swath is definitely the greatest swath of ice accretion is going to be more so towards southern Texas, of course. Another ½ inch of ice possible. Definitely seems feasible, unfortunately. So hopefully you guys are bearing with it. I know that at least from what I've seen earlier today, about 22,000 people around Texas are without power. Numbers are starting to increase around Arkansas. I haven't seen them come in just yet, so we'll have to keep an eye on that too. But up towards southern Arkansas, another ½ inch of ice is possible. We could still see up to about 3/10 of an inch towards that I-35 and I-40 corridors. So by no means are we done, but we're starting to get towards the end of this. So just hang in there. Watch the Weather Channel or watch one of us on YouTube, because we're all one big community at the end of the day. I don't see myself trying to compete with anybody. If anything, we should be working together. But that being said, hope you guys enjoyed this video. You found it useful. If you did, drop me a like. Always appreciate that. And do the double click for me if you haven't already, which means like and subscribe. Of course, share the video to anyone that may find this useful. And just, if you happen to be watching from one of these regions, thank you, and also hang in there for me. We're about at the end of it. So that being said, enough rambling. I got other videos to make on my other channel. You'll see it at the end of the video if you made it this far. And anyway, this has been Metalhead Weatherman. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good night.